Good afternoon, Sharks fans. This is a Pucknology special, The Woo to the West. I am joined by my video compadres, AJ Strong and Chris JWS. We have breaking news, guys. One of the first ones we've had since we've done the video podcast. It has come up thanks to Mark Purdy from the San Jose Mercury News, along with Mayor's Manor, who covers the LA Kings, that the Sharks are going to move the Worcester Sharks to the West Coast. Not only that, but they're going to actually call SAP Center home. Chris, I'll start with you. Something unprecedented. We've seen an NHL, AHL in the same backyard with Philadelphia and Toronto. However, never in the same building.
Yeah, that is interesting. It is pretty much unprecedented, I think, in most any sport, not just hockey. I think the one thing I said definitely for sure has to happen is the Worcester Sharks have to change their name, obviously, brand dilution and all that. So we were talking about maybe that's the return of the Bulls, the Spiders, or the Seals. Long term, if it's going to work out, I think hockey has a better chance of working here in San Jose, where there's already a hunger for that and already a primed fan base, because as we saw by the Bulls experiment, that didn't last long. But I think long term it'll definitely work out in San Jose. I just don't know. Same building? It's a good question. I do like the move by Totoro, though, because I think this will get the general fan more interested in our farm system and what's going on, know the prospects better. We'll have a better idea of, just what's going on. Hopefully it gets on TV as well.
Right. AJ, your thoughts as you rock the old San Francisco Spiders jersey.
And I think we're all just amazingly dumbfounded. Under the Totora era, we've seen a move that is actually positive. This is fantastic. I would love to see the return of the Spiders, especially just because, besides the fact that I'm wearing the jersey and I think it was one of the best logos ever done, I don't think that we'll see a return of the Bulls or the Spiders or the Seals, because you know why? Of course, the almighty dollar. They want to come up with a new name to sell new swag, whether they try to go off on a take it sideways and maybe call them the San Jose Hammerheads or
San Jose Blades.
Well, I don't think it's going to be Blades. But San Jose Hammerheads or the San Jose Fins or the San Jose Jaws, whatever they end up going with, it's going to be a brand new name so they can sell new swag. Right. The idea of them playing in the same arena is definitely kind of groundbreaking. However, I don't think it's going to, I don't think there's any way that lasts. I love the idea of them playing in the same arena or at the very least in the same city, because it gives people that are currently being priced out, like families that have, a mom and dad who have 2 or 3 kids that would love to get them into hockey, but it is just too much money to take them to a Sharks game, but hey, taking them to a minor league game where the tickets are like $12, $13 or whatever, now we're talking. And one of the things that popped in my head was if they do try to keep them in the area, and don't put them in Fresno, don't put them into Sacramento, but keep them in at least keep them in the Bay Area, hey, there's a brand new arena going in up north in San Francisco that could use a tenant when the Warriors are out of town. And would that work? Would that finally make hockey work in San Francisco, since they're not playing at a dilapidated Cow Palace?
Exactly.
That's mine.
Exactly. You guys touched on 2 great subjects. First, the name. I have one great name for it, and it kind of goes off of what I had named my fantasy baseball team. And maybe you probably could go with San Jose, but I'm thinking, what about the Silicon Valley Terabytes? You could still have a shark theme, but you have a technological way. It would be perfect for the AHL.
It is so corny, it just might work.
Right?
Exactly.
As for being here for a long time, I see it as a great business move, because you look at it this way. You have 2 sets of staffs in San Jose and Worcester. Now you have the same staff that could be working for the NHL and the AHL team. You could even experiment with stuff over with your AHL team. You could bring in the cheerleaders. You could bring in the ice girls. You could try so many weird nights. And you have it right there. What this also means is that that's 30 to 40 extra dates that downtown San Jose could be buzzing a whole lot more. Plus, you're going to have to expand Sharks Ice once again.
Well,
they already have an expansion plan for Sharks Ice, if I remember right. It's already the biggest one west of the Mississippi, but last I heard they have additional rinks going in soon. And it's interesting, AJ brought up the San Francisco Arena for the Warriors. Actually, I think it might be the other way around if that were to come into play. Part of me wonders if maybe the Worcester Sharks long-term call SAB home and the Sharks try to make the jump over to San Francisco. I don't know if that'd be a good move, but
I think San Jose, when the Sharks came in when the fan base, at least the hockey fan base, from what I saw, when they played those first 2 years at the Cow Palace, they did well because it was new, it was interesting, but they've done well, obviously because of playoffs and whatnot, but it's because San Jose, that's been the one professional franchise that they've had to call their own. I think if they moved to San Francisco, I actually think it would probably hurt the fan base at first. Maybe they'd start pulling some people from San Francisco, but if they're already going to have, they already have the Giants, they're already going to have, in an essentially newish, I mean, they're in the best ballpark in all of baseball. Then you're going to have a brand new, Warriors building, and especially if the Warriors continue having success that they're having now, I think the Sharks, once again, they would just fall down that totem pole. I think they have to stay in San Jose. But the thing that I'm really the thing that I'm just most intrigued with the idea of them sharing the building, it's also the fact that if you have to have a call-up, you don't have to wait a day and a half for the guy to fly out from Worcester or to send somebody back, when it's just like, no, dude, you're able to, if there's an injury that morning in morning skate, bam, we have a backup that is ready to go, doesn't have to pack his bags and fly across the country and miss a game. He's ready.
And that's where where we saw earlier this season with the goaltenders, that's where we saw, San Jose State goaltender alum, as my dogs are going crazy right now. Say hello to Marlo and Sharky. Yes, I hear you guys. Shush. That's where the whole Ryan Lowe situation took place, because they had nobody, and sure, they probably would have called somebody up last year from San Francisco in the ECHL, but that's where they've always had those agreements with Stockton in San Francisco and Fresno, because it's a quick call. They can get them up here in no time. Now, with them being right in the building and right in the area, you're going to have that to the advantage. However, I don't see it being too a long move, because, one, I can't see the Sharks moving to the city. They don't want to be second-class citizens, per se, to the Warriors. Plus, the Sharks run the Shark Tank. So, therefore, you don't want to have all that authority and just give it up to just be the backup to another team. I think, in my mind, while I say they are in San Jose for a while, I think they're probably going to move to Sacramento once their new arena is built. I can't see them...
And sharing the facility with the Kings?
Yeah, with the Sacramento Kings, yeah. I think that makes logistically a lot more sense. You get the revenue now, because now you have maybe at the most 80 dates. You fill up your arena, which will now be the oldest arena in the Bay Area once the Warriors move, and I think they'll probably shut down Oracle. So you need to fill up those dates.
Yeah, I think Sacramento is a good thought right there. That makes a lot of sense. The reason why I tend to think the Warriors move wouldn't work is that's going to be a Cadillac arena in a huge city. Are they going to have a minor league team playing there? Because I have a feeling like all the big concerts that come to the Bay Area are going to be there. That place is going to be packed. I mean, maybe that's why they're at SAP Center right now. Is maybe they project a few years down the road that, or I don't know. But that's one thought right there. But I think if either team ended up there, my gut just says I think it would be the actual Sharks. I don't think it will happen either way, though.
Yeah, I can see that, and I did see that one of the things that we had bandied about was, would these games especially if they're at the at ASAP ASAP if they're at the goddamn Shark Tank.
Thank you.
If they're at the Shark Tank, a point was brought up. Would they actually get any TV? Would it be broadcast in any way, shape, or form? Now, I doubt. I don't think so at all, unless there is a channel. I think it's 104 on Comcast, but it's a Comcast-only channel that broadcasts San Jose Giants game. I could see them potentially getting on that channel, but. Or at the very least, it would be awesome to have like a closed circuit thing with Stanley's, where you can go to Stanley's if you can't make it over to the game on time, maybe to catch the last half of it and get some grub at Stanley's or whatever the deal is. But I don't see that happening. But it's an interesting idea in theory.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at where you can have, or even have like a pay-per-view deal with Sharks fans, have like a special discount or something to go with it. Maybe you have it on the Sharks app or something, where it could be an extra added fee. I mean, that would be a huge gain for them. I mean,
that's one of those things where I would really, I'd probably end up at least at half the games. If depending on how many I could make, I would consider season tickets. Even though it's minor league, I would not care. The only thing that would probably piss me off a little bit is that I know that I'm going to get a lower, it's minor league, so you're not going to get as high of a level of play. So of course the ticket price is going to be the same. But the thing that will probably piss me off, I know it'll piss off Chris, is the fact that you're going to have to bring your concessions down a little bit too to match it. So it's like that same $8.50 that you're spending for a Lagunitas IPA at a Sharks game is going to have to be about $6 for a Worcester game.
Yeah, that one's going to be a little interesting to see if they actually do that. It'd be tough for them too, I think. You're getting a cheap ticket, but you're also going to have to pay for the facility.
Yeah.
But
I like the idea of calling him the San Jose Woo!
The San Jose Woo, yes, I like that. I think one other
do we have to pay Ric Flair for that?
Yeah.
Other big positive here, though, I think is this is going to get a lot more fans, including myself, kind of integrated with Worcester, because it's really hard to follow Worcester from here. It's not on TV. There's only so much coverage. I mean, Fear the Fin does a nice job of kind of covering it, but even then, it's still hard to connect when you aren't ever really seeing it on TV or, something. So I think it gives the fans in general, everyone, a better chance to understand what's going on down there.
Absolutely. I think in the long run, it'll be a great idea. Like we said before, it's only happened in the city twice in recent memory. We've had the Philadelphia Phantoms and Flyers. The Phantoms play at the old Spectrum when the Flyers went to insert name here center. I forget what it was called. What first?
They change so often.
Right. They did that, and then they eventually moved around until they landed at was it Lehigh Valley? Now, you also have the Leafs right now. They also have the Marlies playing right in the background. I know my dogs are just crazy right now. They hear something outside.
They're about Worcester coming here, right?
Yes, they are. Well, they're named Marlowe and Sharky, so of course. Thank you. It'll be very interesting how this comes down and how this will work out for years to come. But something tells me I think this is just a temporary move.
Yeah, but you know what? Bottom line, it's a good thing that has happened under the Tortora era. I think we're all a little bit in shock. But speaking of that though, let's move on about shock and awe, baby. Yeah! Metallica night.
Yep.
It is Metallica night, although you won't have them singing live, and you only have half the band. But it is Metallica night at the Shark Tank. The Sharks will take on the
now,
defending Stanley Cup champion.
Do we know for a fact that Kirk and James are not playing the anthem like they've done for the Giants?
We haven't heard it. All we've heard so far is that they will be there.
Well, and that they're supposed to take part in the puck drop.
Right, and they'll take part of the puck drop. There will be a jersey auction, which
Gotta make money.
Gotta make money, badass,
Well,
and it's going to be for the Sharks Foundation.
Yeah, that'll be for the Sharks Foundation. So I'm not gonna put that in the same category.
Oh, yeah, no,
gotta make money, more of a gotta raise money.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but I'm just saying. But it would. It probably would not be that feasible to actually set up like an amplifier on the carpet, on the ice, blah blah blah, and have to mic it. So I get it; it's easy to do it at AT&T, but I was expecting something. I'm hoping somebody does the anthem tonight and kind of does it a little more. Oh, say can you see?
I mean, you would hope that they would have either they would come out to a live version of Seek and Destroy, or doing the national anthem, or replacing the taped organ with like "Let's Go Sharks" or the goal song. That would be kind of unique to do on a night like that.
And in the future, see now, doesn't Nashville actually have like a stage set up at one end of the arena where like a live band actually play? How cool would that be if the Sharks were able to do that once in a while and set up a spot somewhere, even if they just retrofitted a suite or something? That would just be so cool.
That'd be the consequences is losing seats, so that's the catch with that.
Then you know what you do? You set them. Well, okay, you lose a couple seats. Oh, boo-hoo! You set them up in a section that the upper deck area that's way open. That's
Penthouse Plaza.
Yeah, that plaza. Yeah, you set them up in a small area up there. So that would be really cool. But I digress. Yeah. Anyway, get to it. Come on, Chris. Sharks and Kings. What do you got for us?
Well, a couple things here. I was noticing from reading about the morning skate. So apparently, now and on to the actual game here. Hurdle skated on Shepard's wing. Why are we breaking up the Hurdle Kennedy Nieto? I thought that was one of our best lines recently. I guess this question: why are we moving him back to wing all of a sudden? I thought he seemed like he really started to find himself there.
It's one of those things where they kind of want to get Andrew Desjardins back on the fourth line, which makes sense why Hurdle wouldn't be a center in a fourth line like that. You kind of, I guess, you kind of replace Wingles for Hurdle on that third line, and that's the only thing I could think of for it.
Honestly, I'd rather see him centering that line and see Shepard on the wing. Shepard's been a decent winger. So
yeah, I mean, and we're going to touch that up a little bit later. That there's so many centers on this team that you can interchange options, and maybe that's why they do it is with the options. Braun is out tonight, so you're gonna see our favorite duo of Irwin and Hannon coming on. But we also have Dylan DeMello. He was called up from Worcester. Probably took the longest flight ever, which is part of the reason why the Sharks are moving the Sharks to the Shark Tank. But I doubt he'll be playing tonight if his equipment's actually arrived.
I don't think he was at the morning skate, was he? So I tend to doubt he would.
I believe so. Yeah, but I can picture a small group of people, especially if Chris was at the game tonight. It would be a nice small group of people. Like every time Irwin and Hannon on the ice are like, "Oh, do you smell that? Oh, it's a tire fire. Oh."
And Mueller, I guess he just been assigned to Worcester on a conditioning assignment, so he's still out. I'm trying to figure out what's going on there.
And figure out what happened in the World Juniors that caused him to get hurt. Or hurt.
Yeah, it is surprising that we're calling up DeMello while putting Mueller on a conditioning. That's something I don't get, but it's a case of let's use an excuse to get a look at this guy. So we're potentially looking at what? Vlasic and Burns, and then Dylan and Tennyson.
Vlasic, Burns,
Dylan, Tennyson,
Irwin, Hannon.
Oh dear Lord! against the streaking Kings.
Well, you notice Tennyson is now in the 4 spot there, basically. So is that, I guess that means at this point in the coach's eyes, has he passed up Berwin and Hannon?
He has to have. He has to have.
No, I think he finally. I mean, he hasn't really gotten a fair shot the last 2 years, but he's finally made his way up. And you know what? There's another story. Local boy makes good. You know, finally we have a Shark that's been with the Sharks from his junior days. Kind of going back to the subject here, we've seen where NHL teams have held rinks with junior clubs. I would think that's kind of like what they're doing with now, just in the AHL. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I don't understand why Mueller is out. We really haven't heard anything about Mueller being out except that he's on the IR. For that matter, where's Mike Brown, and what's the update on Rafi Torres? Because we haven't heard anything on them either.
Mike Brown has a broken rib, I believe it was, or I know is somewhere in that area. I know is that the official diagnosis there. Rafi Torres, I know they said that he's trying to skate without an ACL. Again, I keep saying this, he's not going to be back this year. Resident expert on knee injuries right here.
There you go.
Not going to be back.
Well, and looking at the standings just going into tonight, how huge are these 2 points tonight? I mean, you've got San Jose with the, holding on to the 3 spot right now, by a thread, but holding on to their spot in the division, they have the chance to leapfrog Vancouver to go into the 2nd spot, or it's LA with the opportunity to get into the playoffs. I mean, this is...
And that's the funny thing is that we're so used to them being in it, they're technically on the outside looking in at 52 points. They've really struggled lately, too, going 2, 3, and 5. They've lost their last 2 in overtime. But here's the thing. 5 overtime or shootout losses. I mean, you're getting points out of it, and that's probably what's going to keep them in this playoff race. Is that, yeah, they've lost, but they've lost in overtime.
Well, at the very least, according to the stats, and if you weren't sure, if this is your first time ever listening to us shoot the shit about the Sharks, Eric is our resident optimist. I'm the resident pessimist, whereas Chris is Mr. Analytical Stats guy. So. Looking at it, we've got the Sharks over the last 10 at 5-4-1, the Kings 2-3-5. So clearly the Sharks are on the better, roll as it's going. Although they've tried to challenge that over the last couple of games. So we'll see what happens with tonight. But this is another case, and we saw this back in December, where there was a couple games where after that game you had a five days off, and you expected to see the Sharks empty the tank. Both times, I didn't see that from the Sharks. I'm hoping to see it tonight, where you've got the All-Star break. We're only sending 1 guy, so we've got plenty of time, not to mention the fact that it's already been, I don't know who tweeted it out, but they had already spoken with Joe Thornton that his plans are to be in Cabo come, Friday. So, now's the time, empty the tank, and, make up for just a few of these last games that I'm hoping that McClellan challenging the team, talking about their lack of passion and just an overall desire to want to win. Mm-hmm. I hope, but, how often have we heard that over the last, decade?
Well, you can talk about that going all the way back to Al Sims days.
Yeah. Well, to me, it was really... It was Wilson, There was a lot of times.
Game.
Well, there was a lot of times, even under this. That was one of the things that I did respect during the Sutter era, was that there would be times where that game against New Jersey, when once it was out of hand at 4-2, which you knew pretty much by then, it was especially the way that goal happened, that you saw the Sutter era team, whether it was Ricci or Nolan or whoever, you saw, or Scott Parker. you saw one of the kind of the nasty streak guys on the team go out there and start banging people, and it was a case of you might beat us on the scoreboard, but you're for damn sure going to feel this win on the way home. And you don't see that anymore. So.
I know we've had problems with them coming out flat. I'm thinking tonight, I mean, given that it is the Kings, it seemed kind of like maybe that will get them to empty the tank. That is, it's kind of a game where it's like throw the records out the window. They could be at the bottom of the standings, and I would still think that they are dangerous because that's how this rivalry tends to be. Quick note here, thanks to the Crispy Churro with the 0, our favorite username. Mike Brown, a broken right fibula. So I was close. No, fibula.
It's a leg.
No, it's leg. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Remember my bones here.
That's right. So. I forgot about that one.
So we do have that. Yeah. But as I was saying, with the whole lack of passion, lack of heart, that leads me to kind of the final notes here as we try to wrap this up. Pro Hockey Talk had an article today talking basically about the disconnect between, or that at least saying that there is truth to the article we saw from Myrtle last week, that there might be some sort of disconnect or dissension in the ranks between Wilson and McClellan. I don't know how much I buy that, especially since McClellan could have easily been scapegoated after the last playoffs and choking 3-0. So I kind of don't buy what they're saying. But if they do in fact miss the playoffs, I don't think there's any way McClellan is not fired as the sacrificial lamb. Because what else are you going to do? Get rid of the two big names that have no trade clauses? Probably not.
Right.
I think outside of winning the Cup or going to the Stanley Cup Finals, one of their head will roll, more likely McClellan, or even both.
I think for that matter, it has to be they get into the conference final for them to be safe. I think as much as we don't at the minimum.
To me, I think the absolute minimum, is like a couple years ago, Game 7 of Round 2. I think they get to Game 7 of Round 2. I think that to me is the bottom line.
It's such a fine line though, because we've been through Round 2, Game 6. I mean, how many times in the mid 2000s did we go out in 6 games with Wilson, or for that matter McClellan? I mean, there have been so many times where McClellan could have been the scapegoat right off the bat. President's Trophy, they're out in the first round. The following year, they did not show up against the Blackhawks. The year after that, they got horrible bad bounces against the Canucks and almost blew a 3-0 lead in that series. 2012 was probably the biggest one where you thought that McClellan was gone, and that was when they lost in 5 to St. Louis. I mean, there have been years that, if you were to look at it all the way down, to me, I think McClellan's job is safe. Because when has there been a spot where Doug could have fired him? It would have been maybe at the best, I say that loosely, at the best, 2012. So
I think it was kind of showing some patience, though, especially those early ones you mentioned, like the President's Trophy year. That was his first, if I remember right. That was McClellan's first year. I completely understand why, even after that bad choke job, you'd keep it going. And I think you're right, though. 2012 was his most vulnerable. Last year was also pretty vulnerable. I don't think 2 years ago, that was probably the least brokenhearted I felt about a playoff loss by them, because I felt like they emptied the tank and they came pretty close that year.
Agreed.
Like that one I wasn't that upset about. I was disappointed, but I wasn't that upset. Last year, they could easily fired him. I think it's good that they've shown him patience, but I could see he could easily, if after last year and then if this year doesn't go well, I could easily see him getting let go. But I could see both of them getting let go if they miss the playoffs.
And that's totally up to Hasso saying something, or Hasso stating, letting John Chatora have an opinion on hockey matters. Because well, let's be real here. Who would hire the next GM or the next coach?
Tatora.
Yeah.
It would probably be
next coach would probably be the GM, because most organizations go with the top-down philosophy.
Or we wait till next year. We'll have a head coach right in the building.
I wouldn't be surprised if in fact they miss this. It wouldn't surprise me if now that Totora's been at the job for about 2 seasons, that maybe depending on how much he's ingratiated himself to Plattner, maybe it is a case of let Totora. Wilson's had the reins now for 10 years. Let Totora bring in new people, whatever. Anyway, we'll see. That'll all play out down the line. I digress. Let's get down to it. We got a minute or so left to wrap it up. So we've got Metallica night tonight. I'll be there. If you want a pregame, I'll be at ISO Beers on Santa Clara Street between 2nd and 3rd. God, they should. If anybody buys a beer off of that pub, I should get a free beer. But anyway, we now bring you a very special tribute from our last original shark that has retired. Take it, Eric.
Yes, it was a rough day. He was my favorite player. He was the second player to actually wear the number 14. It's the reason why I have this. Reason why you always see Puck Guy, you see the number 14. Ray Whitney retired today after 23 seasons in the NHL. He retires at age 42. He played over 1,000 games, had over, I think, like 1,046 points. That's just going off of my head. With San Jose, Edmonton, Florida, Columbus, Detroit, Carolina, where he won a Stanley Cup with former Shark Nicholas Wallin and current broadcaster Brett Hedican, and played in Phoenix and finished up in Dallas last year. He hung it up today, which means it's the end of an era. There are no more Sharks from the original team, and for that matter, I believe, unless somebody corrects me wrong, I asked Bakes this too, there are no more Sharks from the original 1994 playoff run. Oh God, I'm not going to get emotional here. I swear I'm not going to get emotional. But with that, it is time to rock. It is time to get out and get crazy. They are in white tonight for some odd reason, but your Team TO will be rocking the white against the black. Yeah.
Thanks for Ray Whitney, buddy.
Stick tap to you, bud. With that, I hate you, AJ. Until then, for Chris JWS.
AJ, hello.
There's AJ. Chris, get on camera so you can say bye. There you go. For Chris and AJ, I'm Eric. You can find us on Twitter at PuckGuy14, AJ_Strong, Chris JWS. Find us all on Pucknology.net and on Twitter at Pucknology. We will see you then. Until then, keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh. Go Sharks!
Rock and roll tonight.